Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all honor, glory, and praise unto Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Rakakwadash. Double honor to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone for teaching us His truth to rule well. I'm just going to go into something quick. 2nd Ezra 13 and 41. Actually, let me start off at verse 40. It says, "Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land at the time of Hosea the king, whom Salmanassar the king of Assyria led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land." All right, those 10 tribes are what are called today the lost tribes of the children of Israel. Okay, because really there's 13 tribes. One was done away with, and then it was replaced by another. Okay, so really the only and one was replaced by another as well. So really you have 12 tribes, which is the number the Most High decided He was going to keep. He wasn't going to keep increasing the numbers 17, 18. So He kept 12 tribes, because Levi originally wasn't considered a tribe of Israel, even though they were considered the priests. Okay, so the reason why Levi is now set up as one of the tribes is because we're all priests, right? Exodus 19 and 6 says, "And I shall make you a kingdom of priests, and you shall be unto me a kingdom of priests." And that's what that's what's happening now with Israel becoming those priests, by way of prophecy, by way of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai that He's bestowed upon us, starting with the elders and apostles down to the elder and apostle of Great Millstone. So you have men out in the world that are trying to get out of the world in the sense of mentally. Okay, so the 10 tribes of Israel were scattered, or really not scattered, but really left Assyria, as I'm going to go into. Okay, and they decided to come into a place where never mankind dwelt. Okay, which there's 2 different other lands in chapter 13 that people don't want to wrap their head around. Okay, but it says verse 41, 2nd Ezra 13 and 41, "But they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt." Okay, so a further country from Assyria. Okay, Assyria is in between the Asian countries and the Hamitic countries, which is Africa, and below Europe. So it's almost right in the middle of the known world at that time, which is called now as the Old World. Okay, so it says verse 42, "That they might there keep their statutes which they never kept in their own land." Okay, point in case, the Sabbaths. Okay, the Sabbath day and also the new moons. Those were some of the celebrations, or really assemblies that we would keep. Okay, traditions. And they're not just traditions, but they're also commandments from Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Keeping the Sabbath, keeping the new moon, which yesterday was a Sabbath. Okay, it was the last Sabbath of the month. And tonight, Tuesday evening to Wednesday evening, is the new moon. Okay, which should be kept as a Sabbath. All right, the new moon is likened unto a Sabbath. There's no difference. That's why Scripture says in the book of Amos, I believe chapter 8, it says, "When is the new moon, that we might buy and sell?" So it says, and also going into a little bit of Native American history, the natives used to keep the new moons, and they would have 7 days and they would rest. Okay, which they couldn't have got it from the Bible. All right, because at that time they were doing that there wasn't anything called the Bible. Okay? Because they left. You have to remember that the Assyrian captivity was around, 700 BC? 7 to 500 BC. Around that time period is when the Native Americans came over here to the Americas. So they haven't been here for too long of a time period, man. It says, and they entered into Euphrates by narrow places of the river. Okay, so that they went down the Euphrates. For the Most High then showed signs for them, and held still the flood till they were passed over. So whenever they took counsel, okay, within themselves to go to this new land where never mankind dwelt, okay, whenever they took counsel about going to those lands, the Most High was with it. The Most High was with it, man. That's why he held still the floods. That's why their boats weren't overran by water. All right, because you have a lot of people that say that the Native Americans, when you go into the historians and the history of the Native Americans being over here in the Americas, they said the Native Americans couldn't have possibly crossed over an ocean. It had to be frozen, which really that would also go into holding still the floods. Okay, but it was actual water. It was actual water that they went over. It wasn't frozen. All right, so they say that the Native Americans must have crossed during the last ice age. All right, because according to Esau Edom, they're too stupid, all right, to have boats and swim over the waters, to ship themselves over the waters, and they were too uneducated to know exactly where they were going. That's just the wickedness of Esau Edom, man. But these Native Americans had knowledge, had wisdom, had understanding, okay? But they didn't have powerful boats. So the Most High held still the waters so that they can cross over the rivers, cross over the waters. So it says, verse 45, for though that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half, and the same region is called Arzareth. Okay, so you have the Olmec heads in South America. All right, those Olmecs, I believe they're the Olmecs. Yeah, the Olmec heads are actually Hamites. Okay, the heads of Hamites. So the Hamites during King Solomon would go into an expedition, and they would travel. All right, they wouldn't come back for 3 years. They would travel to a certain place that they would get gold from. Okay, to a certain area not really known in scriptures, not really known to man where they went, but they traveled for about 3 years. Okay, and they came back with gold. All right, now that place is Arzareth, another land. All right, that other land is where the 10 tribes of Israel went. Okay, that's why you have those Olmec heads in South America, which are Hamites, which were under the rule of King Solomon. And whenever King Solomon wanted gold, they came over here to the Americas. Why do you think there was such a gold rush, okay, here in the Americas? Why do you think the conquistadors, when they came over here, they started killing off the indigenous population, which the word indigenous goes back to being the first in the land, So it's clear that these Native Americans have some type of history, man. And that history is not crossing over, ice. And that's that. We all descend from either Shem, Ham, or Japheth. And then from Japheth, we descend from either Yawan, which is the native Greeks. All right, not the Edomite Greeks that later took over. We descend from Ham. You have Canaan, and you have many others, but really they're just known as Hamites. Okay, and then from Shem came a lot of people, from Abraham, you know, Abraham, Isaac, you know, and from Isaac came Jacob, and Jacob was named as Israel, you know. So you have the Hebrews, which are Ammonites, Moabites, which are the sons of Lot, and then you have the Edomites, which are the so-called white people, so-called Caucasian, okay, because they dwelt in the Caucasus Mountains. All right, they're cave dwellers. And then you have the Israelites, which are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right, so when you read verse 46, it says, "Then dwelt they there until the latter time, and now when they shall begin to come, the highest shall stay in the springs of the stream again, and they may go through. Therefore sawest thou that multiple with peace." Oh, that multitude with peace. Okay, so you have a multitude of Israelites, man. That's why in the book of Revelations you have 12,000 out of each tribe, which adds up to 144,000, you know. And then there's a great multitude that follows. Okay, that 144,000 is men, okay, elect men. And that multitude that follows are, you know, the different tribes of Israel, women, children, you know, some men. But I wanted to go into this video. And this also proves that our people are mixed with those fake Jews over there in Israel. Okay, because one of the guys was asked, you know, and judging by his spirit, one of the guys was asked, well, would you consider Jews even people from Africa that claim they're Jews or from other places of the world? And he said, yeah, you know, if they're Jews, then they're Jews. You know, there's nothing you can do to stop that or prevent that. You know, if they're Jews, then they're Jews. And then they asked this guy,
what do you think happened to the 10 lost?
And this guy was the main one. All right, his name is Eliezer, all right, or Eleazar. He's gonna go a little bit into his history, you know, into his background. But they asked him if he was a Jew.
Tribes.
10, not 12.
No, we're 12 tribes.
You see, they said, what happened to the 10 tribes of Israel? And he answered, 10, not 12. Now, why would he say 12? Well, through the Spirit, you don't know who the 12 tribes are, man. Just by calling yourself a Jew, all right, doesn't mean you found the 12 tribes, okay? Because they keep saying Judah, 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 Judah. Everybody always wants to be Judah, man, you know? But what about the rest of the tribes? All right, Yahushua came out of the tribe of Judah, but what about Benjamin? What about Levi, the priests? You know? What about Issachar? What about Zebulun? What about Manasseh? Ephraim? You know, you got plenty more tribes, man. All right, you have some tribes, or people, I should say, in Africa that believe they're descendants of the tribe of Dan. You know, they believe that they're descendants of the tribe of Dan. Whether that be true or not, you know, that's entirely up to the Most High. Okay, but we know that the tribe of Dan is going to judge as one of the tribes of Israel. Okay, not saying that the tribe of Dan is going to be a tribe of Israel. That's why in Revelations, you don't have the tribe of Dan that's mentioned. You know?
Shit, now 10 of them are lost. In the end, there was Israel and Judah.
Judah, okay.
And that's kind of why we're called Jews, but I'll get someone else to because I don't know the history that well either. But 10 of them were dispersed from the Assyrians.
Okay.
So the question...
Now, you heard what he said. 10 of them, 10 of the tribes were dispersed after the Assyrians. Okay? after the Assyrians, 10 of them were dispersed. Now I read that. 2nd Ezra and 13. You know? And this is something very basic that we know and that we believe in. Because you have a lot of people that say that the Apocrypha is not scriptural, not canon. Okay? But it's according to who? To their high priests. All right? Not to the Most High. Okay? They didn't receive prophecy that there was going to be, anything about false books or Apocrypha being not canon. This is according to the priests of the Catholic, the Christian religion. So it says back in 2nd Ezra 13 and 40, those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Salmanassar, king of Assyria, led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so they into another land. Okay? That's what the Assyrians did. The Assyrians carried them into another land, over the waters, okay, into the land of Assyria. But whenever they took counsel amongst themselves, okay, that's when they went into another land that had never been dwelt before, and that same region is called Arzareth, okay, which Arzareth means another land. You see, so it says, go down here, verse 45, 2nd Ezra 13 and 45, for though that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half, and the same region is called Arzareth. Okay, so when you go into the word Arzareth, it just means another land. Okay, so that other land is not the land of Assyria, because it shows you where it goes through. Okay, they went through the river of the Euphrates to exit out of Assyria, and then the Most High held still the waters. All right, now the reason, let me go here, why called Pacific Ocean. Explorer Ferdinand Magellan named the Pacific Ocean in the 16th century. He called this body of water Pacific due to the calmness of the water at the time. Pacific means peaceful. Okay, so like the Most High held the floods, the waters still, meaning he pacified the waters, making them calm waters. The same thing that he did during the time of the 1600s, 1500s, 15 and 1600s, during the exploration of the conquistadors, Cristobal Colon, and the English in 1620. Okay, during those time periods, the Most High would hold the waters still, making them pacified. Okay, and they even I believe it was Christopher Columbus that had said and notated that he was being guided by a light in the sky, meaning a chariot. A chariot was guiding that man, and his fleet. So the Most High intended all this to happen, the Pacific Ocean, man. So it says, 2nd Ezra 13 and 45, for though that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half, and the same region is called Arzareth. Okay, from going down from the Assyrian through the Euphrates, going around Africa, and going towards or going below Africa and going towards America. Okay, it took them a year and a half. A year and a half. You see? So I hope that was edifying. With that, I want to say shalom.